To all the people out there who work as scarers in haunted houses, what was your best scare reaction? Maybe 5-6 years ago I worked at an amusement park that converts much of the park into multiple haunted houses. I worked in the area that was a haunted butcher shop. I was in a room that was supposed to be where everything got gutted and the wall had this thick fake gore with a person-shaped outline. I wore a suit that had the same fake gore on the front. In the dark light I was practically invisible. One girl was on her phone and totally not paying attention, but her friend saw right through my camouflage and motioned for me to hop in line behind their friend. I followed them for a little ways and finally this chick looks up from her phone and starts to turn to talk to her friend, not realizing that I was mere inches behind her. She turns and we're close enough that I can see her pupils as they widen. She jumped probably a foot in the air and sprinted through the rest of the maze. Her friends couldn't stop laughing on the way out. The coolest room I ever worked in was very innocent seeming at first. It was the last room in a fairy tale themed house. It looked like the inside of a little storybook cottage. Cutesy music was playing. There was a fake window with a meadow painted outside it. On a wall was a chalkboard and pieces of chalk available. The chalkboard was split down the middle by a line. Said were you scared at the top and gave you the option to mark yes or no on one side of the line. That's where I came in. The chalkboard was actually a drop panel, essentially a hidden window that loudly slams open to reveal a cast member on the other side. I was painted up like a horrible, gory Snow White. When I'd drop the panel, it also triggered all the lights in the room to go out except for black lights which revealed hidden evil drawings all over the walls and an air cannon would blast people from behind, making them feel like something was touching them. It was just the best room because people felt safe. They finally let their guard down when they saw this cheerful space and when they went to put a mark on the chalkboard, often bragging to their friends that wasn't scary, that's when bang. Blackout, satanic scrawlings everywhere, air cannon smacking their heads and evil Snow White was cackling in their faces all in the span of 1 second. They always ran out shrieking bloody murder. Never trust the last room. Really want to see that room now. I worked at a haunted house that used to be a slaughterhouse that many believed was actually haunted. I worked in a room that was a pitch black winding corridor with many secret doors so I could get 4 scares on a group by myself. At the end we have moving floors, plywood with balls under them that are very loud when you step on them and shift slightly, making most people look down even though it's pitch black. My favorite scare would be to sit at the end of the hallway, wait to hear them touch the first moving floor. Audio cues were important, then click on my flashlight, point it up at my face. I wore a 3-headed clown mask, and just freaking charge at them. So now you have a creepy looking clown guy charging at you. The moving floor is making the footsteps into really loud bangs. And you can't go anywhere since your hands are on the walls guiding you through the darkness and your group is behind you blocking your escape. The dread you see on some of these tough guy group leaders is hilarious. I get as close as I can, shut the light off, and just silently walk backwards and disappear through another door. The amount of people that pee themselves on that scare was astounding. I had only even made 2 people pee before I thought of doing that. Then I got my number to 7 in the last couple weeks of the season. At the local state park camping area my family would go camping every year for Halloween. Everyone decorated their campsites and the kids went around trick-or-treating. One year I took a large pumpkin and carved it, hollowing it out through the bottom. I covered my hair in an orange bag and painted my face the same color as the inside of the pumpkin. I put the pumpkin on my head and I dressed in oversized clothes stuffing them with leaves and put on a pair of red gloves that I attached fake claws to. Everything was topped off with a nice black cloak and then I taped a pair of monster hand gloves to my wrists to hide my actual hands and make me look like I was essentially a scarecrow, and a real, though very dull sword. I then took my place in the field with the other decorations, but I made sure I was reasonably close to the edge where people would walk by. My first one was the best. A family walks up with 2 kids. The kids are telling the mom that I am real. The mom is telling the kids I am not real and she decides to show them by coming up and touching me. She comes close and looks back at the kids saying, "See, it's not real," at which point I raise the sword in my left hand, reach for her raised hand with my right as I step forward and the kids lose their crap. She turns around and sees me and tries to walk back but just falls on her butt screaming. The kids run. The dad was doubled over in laughter, literally in tears. Once the mom got herself under control, I offered her a hand and help her up. The kids, who had stopped about 15 feet away, are yelling "we told you so," and the mom is fake hitting me as she half laughs and curses at me. The dad could still hardly breathe. The best part, though, was the fact that I was 14 and that night I also unknowingly frightened a little girl of 11 who around 15 years later I would marry. I am informed by my wife that I had to be closer to 15 or 16 due to our age difference. She was around 11 or 10. We actually discovered this when we were in line for a haunted house that we were going to go to with some of her friends from work. We didn't actually go through the haunted house. She was too scared and we had to exit through the little antechamber where you meet the guide. All volunteer haunted house, and one year we have like 10 teen guys show up dressed as the Grim Reaper. Okay, well, the organizers decide to put them all together in a corridor and make people walk a gauntlet through menacing scythes. This one young woman is really freaked out as she edges through the rooms, senses on high alert, visibly shaking. As a living mannequin, I decide to just say a quiet good evening, which sends her scrambling away from me into the Reaper's corridor. They all converge eagerly, scythes flashing, and she shrieks and drops like her strings got cut. She's passed out cold. All the Grim Reapers are standing over her uncertainly, shocked. Then from one skull comes a wavering, really worried, "Oh, crap, we killed her." Worked at a haunted house when I was younger as a youth job. It was a lot of fun. I had to sit in this narrow hallway in a doll costume and sit perfectly still. Then when people passed me I would suddenly move, making it look like I was trying to grab them, and do my best creepy voice saying stuff like "come play with me" or "stay with me forever." I got some great reactions, though some stand out more in my memory. The dude that tried to scooch by the opposed wall while muttering "nope, nope, no pay, nope," and when I reached for him, he did this weird jump thing, the kind you see cats doing in videos while yelling "frick no Annabelle looking bee." Then there was this group of dude bro looking guys that were 100% sure I was a human-sized doll, spending the whole walk down the hallway saying stuff like "that crap isn't that scary, it doesn't even look very lifelike." Weren't they surprised? God, being a scarer was fun. 10/10 would do again. Not a scarer, but I have a feeling I, and by proxy the group I was with, was this person's best scare. Our group was in a dark maze filled with chainsaw maniacs all dressed in black. After a couple of scares, all the chainsaws went quiet, setting a very uneasy calm. I had been sent to the back of the group because I wasn't fazed by the haunted house section. As we came up on the end of the maze, I heard footsteps behind me. Thinking this was another group, I said, "Hey, we think the exit is this way." Turns out I was wrong. Not about the exit, but the fact that it was another group. It was one of the chainsaw maniacs, and they responded by revving the chainsaw. Cue our entire group and accordioning up on door out of the maze because the sickers who designed it built it so the door opens in, not out. The door being a pull instead of a push absolutely makes it LMAO. So I worked as a scare actor at a haunt on an old aircraft carrier from World War II for a couple of years. There were two parts to the haunt. One below deck in what was called sick bay, which was mainly the ship itself being old and creepy. Up top was the more traditional Halloween haunt maze with themed rooms and chainsaw guys. Normally I worked in sick bay, but that night I was put in the maze. I was in the bathroom themed room and was the victim of the deranged plumber actor. So I'm sprawled out on the floor, and when people walk by, I lunge and groan and beg for help. It worked pretty well. Then this one woman came in wearing high heels. I don't know who wears high heels to a haunted house on an aircraft carrier, but hey, you do you. Anyways, she doesn't see me on the ground and manages to step on my arm with her heels. I know we had strict rules about not touching the patrons, but due to the pain surprise, I wasn't thinking, and I grabbed her ankle in hopes to get her off me. This lady screamed and bolted for the emergency exit hallway that would take her out of the haunt, leaving her friend behind and dumbfounded. I felt terrible at the time that she missed out on the rest of the haunt, but now I laugh about it because I really scared her. Different haunt for Valentine's Day in a defunct mall. It was set up in a vacant department store, and my room had one of those pillars with a mirror on it. The room was set up like a bedroom, with an actual 4-poster bed. There was ample room to hide behind the pillar and jump out at people. and people expected this. I'd often see people think they were being clever and trying to get the drop on me. I, however, was lying on top of the canopy for the 4-poster bed. There was a wooden board up there strong enough to support me and keep me out of sight. They'd failed to find anyone behind the pillar. Turn, and then I lunged at them from the canopy and they'd scream. I really loved that job. Ha, nobody behind the pillar. I guess we're safe. Surprise mother. I worked for a rather popular haunted house, Hayride cornfield. It's made the Travel Channel shows a few times. So my now husband and I were supposed to be dead cowfolk in a Wild West scene. The way it was set up is the PPL walk in through a big opening in the front. There are 2 buildings on either side where 2 actors should set off the scene. After that, the PPL walk around a stable-like fenced-off enclosure which put them in this narrowish corridor where I and my husband were. I was on a barrel. He was lying under the fence. From there, the area would open up just a little with a blacksmith. The dude was actually a blacksmith. He'd spend the night making cool crap and we'd warm up by the fire while we waited for groups. There was an emergency exit that was part of the scenery. The firing thing. I can't remember what it's called, lol sorry. And then the entrance to the mine shaft. The entire walkthrough was maybe 40 feet. Oh, and it was always really dark. Our main source of light was the fire from the blacksmith and nearby Hayride. Other than that, we had a few very dimly lit light bulbs. So one night, we were doing our thing, scaring people and whatnot, when this kid comes booking it through the scene. He's all alone and just freaking terrified. I mentioned the emergency exit BC if someone ever said I can't do this. I want out, we'd have to exit character. The only time we were allowed to, and escort them out. So this kid is hauling butt. IDK if he got separated from his group and was trying to find them, or if he said frick this and wanted to just hurry out or what, but he gave us about a second to try to scare him as he flashed past us. Well, the ground was uneven and I think a little damp and he slipped and fell and slid to a stop against a barrel right by the exit door. My husband and I are like, oh crap. We walk over to him and he's lying on the ground, panting hard, staring up at us with sheer terror in his eyes. I'm like, for real? Dude, not playing. Are you okay? And he quickly nods, eyes still bugging out and looking between us. I'm like, you sure? Do you need to leave? He takes a second, looks at us again and shakes his head. I look at my husband and then back at this kid and scream, then get up and get the heck out. Get out. Get out. Get to do it. That kid jumped up like he had rockets strapped to his back and freaking hauled butt into the mine shaft, leaving me and my husband rolling. Good times. Not a scarer, but I did work at a theme park with a well-known Halloween event. As such, I got very discounted tickets for it and took my scaredy cat pals to see all the mazes. I have so much respect for scare actors for not breaking character despite Friend A turning the corner to see a creepy Victorian era lady and screaming no, thank you for your service at the top of her lungs. Friend B somehow missing every jump scare that the pig mask wearing man tried to pull on her because she was always conveniently looking another way. Both of them being cornered in a tunnel by infected guys in hazmat suits. And friend A just kept yelling through genuinely terrified tears for them to please don't infect us. We don't have health insurance. Friend C making kissy duck faces at every actor that tried to scare him. And at one point when he got cornered by 3 scary ladies, he whooped loudly and hollered, "Do baby it's a triple." In the words of friend A, thank you scare actors. Thank you for your service. And now I'm giggling like a lunatic at a bus. People are staring. Please don't infect us. We don't have health insurance. I volunteer as a wall of spooky living mirrors in a little family-friendly haunted house for a couple of nights every Halloween season. Basically, I poke my hands and a plastic skull through panels of stretchy silver fabric while kids are walking by. The best are the kids who are brave enough to announce that they know it's not real, it's just someone behind the wall, and to try to grab me through the fabric, but not fast enough to get their hands away before I grab back. Turns out that even if you're feeling brave, you still screech when a mirror grabs your fingers and tugs. Had a dude once come through, jumped a bloody mile in the air when I scared him. He just stopped with this far off look and said, "I just crap myself." I stayed in character till the smell hit me. I broke and asked if he wanted an escort. Dude seemed to snap out of it and said nah. I pinched the rest back and off he marched. This just made my whole morning LMAO. Not a haunted house, but a zombie run. I was the last zombie before you could escape. I'm 4 feet 11. I look pretty weak and I wear glasses, which I had fixed with tape as part of my costume. I was supposed to have been a medic before I became a zombie. Despite how I look, I have a very loud voice. I'm good at screaming and I'm a good runner. My job was to mill about near the end of the course and catch and tag as infected anyone I felt like. I used to approach or look distracted as people crept towards me. Not all zombies attacked, so people weren't sure how to deal with me. Plus there were some who had acquired zombie repellent and were quite confident. Spoiler, zombie repellent doesn't work. I'd wait until they had just passed me before unleashing an unholy scream and sprinting after them. I caught quite a few, but the best reactions were a fully grown man who cried actual tears and asked for his mum, and a girl who peed herself, then threw her water bottle at me. It was a lot of fun, and all the screaming was quite a good core workout. My abs were agony for days after. Abs of steel. I did a bit of time as a scarer when I was 15 and a decade later it's still my favorite job I've had despite it being a fully costumed 6+ hours in near darkness with no break. A good 20% of the time I had punters fully convinced I was animatronic and the moment where you move suddenly times just with them crap talking was absolutely the best. In particular I remember a guy who was poking stuff and laughing whilst his girlfriend was kind of scared in general trying to poke through a cage I was in at me. Reacted like a robot for long enough that he got bored and just as he went to go I grabbed his fingers, started waving a knife around like mad and pressed a foot pedal for some sounds. 6-foot+ guy ran out back towards the entrance screaming and my manager came back in to have a laugh. We actually shut down for 20 minutes or so because the guys raving in the lobby caused so much fuss. Some thought he was a paid actor. Kids started crying and the line doubled up. I hope you got a reward. LOL. This wasn't my best scare, but it was the funniest scare. I worked as a clown street performer at well-known amusement park. Part of my costume was a clown jacket, but I didn't have a shirt underneath it, so I had bloody makeup all over my bare chest. One evening, I walked up to a couple who was minding their own business. I was holding my jacket closed so that they couldn't see my chest. I asked them what their favorite superhero was. I think they both agreed on Batman. At that moment, I screamed "Mine's the Flash" as I pulled open my jacket and exposed my bloody chest makeup right up in their faces. It's incredibly difficult trying to scare someone if you're already in plain sight, but I managed to pull it off this time. It also gave them a good laugh. I think they both agreed on Batman. I'm dying picturing a couple being interrogated by a scary clown and they can't seem to agree on who their mutual favorite superhero should be. I got kicked in the nuts real hard by a kid. I was a chainsaw wielding clown on a haunted hayride. We would hide until the wagon went past us and then run and jump onto the wagon with running saws. One kid didn't like it at all and hoofed me right in the clown balls. I kept a bit more distance after that. Someone helped me find the scarer I patted on the head when she grabbed my leg. It was at the Haunted Hoochie in Columbus, Ohio. I was in the back of the group at a haunted house once and the guy revving the chainsaw behind us kept running into me with it. It clearly didn't have a chain on it. I volunteered one season to help my friend with their new haunted house. My teens knew I worked there but crew was sworn to secrecy about our roles. I had the role of creepy stalker. I looked and stood like a Grim Reaper mannequin. I saw my daughter and half her hockey team go by me. I silently stalked after the last one. When noticed, the girls went screaming and running away into a corner and piled up together in a heap on the floor. Then one looked up at me and said, "Kristen, I think that's your mom." The screaming stopped. They all looked up and quietly got up and walked away like it never even happened. Hilarious. Not a scarer, but one of my earliest memories involves riding on my dad's shoulders and getting hit in the eye by a haunted house mummy with a fingertip squirt gun. He felt so bad. He leapt out of his sarcophagus and broke character to apologize and make sure I was alright. That's when I learned that the undead could be pretty alright sometimes. I hope that you don't try to go out there and hug zombies if there's a zombie apocalypse. Undead are tight but not in all situations. My friend was in Boy Scouts and every year they put on a haunted trail through the woods baseball field. One year he invites me to join him even though I'm not in Boy Scouts, so I go sure, why not. His mom is a great artist, so I go over there with my cheap little werewolf kit and she does the whole thing for me. I look terrifyingly realistic. The wild hair, fangs, giant ears, claws, ripped up clothes, and of course blood. So I walk in unnoticed, don't check in at the clubhouse cause I'm not even a Boy Scout. Find a nice bridge in the woods that goes over a small dried up creek and I take up residence there. A few scouts come by and try to claim that spot but see I'm already there and keep walking, occasionally asking who is that. So the trail starts. I get some really good scares. I was super into it. Jumping out of trees, running around on all fours, climbing out from under the bridge. So the haunt comes to an end. My friend comes and finds me from his post and says he's gonna skip the meeting, let's just walk home. Well, apparently during the meeting we skipped, the scout leaders started asking who the werewolf on the bridge was, but since I was never supposed to be there, and my friend never exactly mentioned me, this freaked a group of Boy Scouts out, some believing an actual werewolf haunts those woods. That's been like 20 years ago and I think some people still believe it. Ahahaha, that's awesome. Proper campfire horror story style. Only one year I was a scarer at a haunted house. I was put in the lobby where the rules and the pacing is set for the house. I was Henrietta Pumpernickel and I created a false sense of security, telling jokes, singing a terrible rip of the song Happy by replacing Happy with Humpy, as I had a huge, giant microbe, hump and hobbled around. My only good scare was when I spooked someone around a corner. LOL. Mayo Humpy birthday. Not a scarer, but my best reaction was in 2016. Me and my friends went up to one of the haunted house places. 7 of us in total. We were walking through and this girl in an exorcist style pose springs out from behind a doorway. In pure panic and fear I screamed out, "Hi, how are you?" and she just freaking stops and stares at me as we walk past as if to say, "The frick? What a time to flirt, man." I like to throw strange voices out in the dark to see what people react to. One time I pretended to be a scary clown that sounded like Elmo. Well, this guy starts freaking out and moves to the other side of the trail away from me. Turns out another roamer who was dressed as a clown can also make a perfect Elmo voice, and he was inches away from this biker dude. He literally jumped in the air while his legs were running in midair like a cartoon, and landed and took off out of the woods to his car and drove off. My family don't celebrate Christmas like they do for Halloween, and I'm their prime scarer. Last year a group of teen girls looked in on me doing my act and walking while doing a bridge, the upside down thing on all fours, and ran out of the room and didn't stop until they were off the property. They didn't even make it past the door. I broke my finger trying to get up, but it was worth their reaction. Bray Wyatt would be proud. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.